the studio. I think you were, we were in New York when I saw you last.
I know, I was saying it doesn't really count because I was singing in a whole group and it was like, here's the cast, and we all sang, and then it was like, bye, and I was like, well, I didn't really get to say hello.
Yeah.
It's only in studio, I think, where it really counts.
Well, it's fun to have you here, and we played ping pong. Well, I watched you play ping pong backstage. And,
yeah, you very smartly did not join.
Yeah, did not join in.
I hit my dad in the face with the ball while she was watching. It was great.
Yeah, she's never, clearly, was that the first time ever playing ping pong?
I know it looks like it, but no, actually. I've played quite a lot in my time, yeah.
You played a lot?
A lot, yeah.
I don't think you ever hit the table. I mean, I don't think the ball...
I hit the table, the ball didn't.
Right, the ball never hit the table.
Yeah, I was hitting with my hands. I mean, I just, you know, as long as I hit the ball in some way, shape, or form, I get very, very excited.
Yeah, she was
At one point, I was juggling.
You were playing with your boyfriend and your father looks, God, he's young.
He's 51.
He looks...
Yeah, he's a young man. He's beautiful. He's great.
Let's talk about your childhood, because it's very interesting. You grew up in New York, and tell people how you grew up.
Well, my dad and my mom moved into a squat, which is an abandoned building in the Lower East Side, and I was 6 at the time. My brother was not even 1. And, you know, it was an incredible experience. I mean, we moved into this place, it was freezing, had a huge hole in the floor, we had plastic for windows, a plywood door with a chain as our door. We were up on the 4th floor. We used to have to take compound buckets of water from the hydrant downstairs to bring it up, and that's how we would use, you know, boil water. I mean, it was a whole thing, and eventually, bit by bit, my dad did construction and put walls up, and my mom did plumbing, and we had sewage lines put in, and suddenly we had heat, and we had water, and we had electricity. And
But what, you were 6, you said?
Yeah.
Before that, where were you living?
We were living in a railroad apartment a block down, and it was just, you know, it was rat infested and the slumlord and the whole thing, and it was just, you know, my family just said, listen, let's move in here and we can at least build the home around ourselves, as opposed to be stuck in this situation where we're paying money to somebody and our children are living in a place that's dangerous. So it was interesting. I mean, I was talking to my dad about it, and he's like, it's amazing now that I can talk about this story, and people are like, wow, this is so incredible. But at the time, you know, we were getting chewed out by all of our relatives, my grandparents being like, what are you doing with our kids and our grandchildren? But it was the most incredible experience growing up like that.
I bet it was.
So appreciated. It's, you know, to grow up in New York City, it just gives you that opportunity to know how you're going to be traveling around the world. But to grow up in like a small little artist community in that little building, there was, you know, we didn't have graffiti, we didn't have any of the, because we built our home around us, we were proud of it. It was really something, it's a small time that you couldn't recreate anymore, but it was remarkable growing up like that.
And then, so how were you discovered?
On the stoop, actually, that my parents built, because there were so many, you know, drug addicts and homeless people in the neighborhood, and it was such a dangerous neighborhood. They wanted to make sure, because I was, you know, I remember coming home one day, and there was someone peeing like down into the doorway, and I was freaked out coming home from school. So they wanted to build this stoop my parents designed and built, and on that stoop is the stoop that I got discovered on when Larry Clark and Harmony Korine asked me if I wanted to be in a movie.
And the movie was?
Kids.
Kids.
And that's the only, now all these years later, it's the only job I've ever had. I've only been an actor, and my dad's the person who told me to go downstairs and get discovered. It was very cute, actually. It was one of our big arguments that we remember with him. Just go downstairs, they're shooting a commercial. You should, you know, you dance. Come on, like go downstairs and get discovered. I'm like, Dad, leave me alone. This is so stupid. And then I went down. There was a grip who was really cute. So I hung around for the whole weekend. I ended up really actually getting discovered in a movie, which is shocking. But you know, there you go.
Out of that circumstance.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
You just never know.
Yeah.
Your first time on the show was season 3?
Wow.
Was it?
For Rent, right?
Yeah, you were singing. It was.
That was in New York, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was so excited when I got to come on again and like do it here and have the whole dance and the whole movie.
Yeah.
Because this is one of my favorite things about this show.
Yeah.
Y'all look so good.
Don't they?
Yes.
You look all gussied up. I know that you don't. You live in the country now, and I guess you don't dress that way in the country.
Absolutely not.
So, what made you move to the country, and what's that like? Are you like at heart a country girl?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up camping and going upstate, and you know that was just one of the things my family and I did. We've always wanted to have our compound, do our off-grid living. That's all I watch is those shows with my dad. And you know, I grew up in construction. I was in an abandoned building, so just being creative and making your home is so beautiful. So I've got a property with multiple houses on it. My dad's in one, my mom's in the other, because they're divorced. But we're still close-ish. And it was, you know, we've talked about it forever, but after this pandemic and being so kind of cooped up together, It was like, this is the time to make it happen.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you drove across country. That was one of the things you did during the pandemic.
Yeah.
That you actually physically drove?
I drove the bus, yes. It was the only thing that I could rent at the time. And my dad didn't want to fly. He just had his pancreatic cancer surgery and was recuperating from that. So I ended up driving him cross country, and he gave me one of the best compliments ever, because when we landed there, upstate New York, he said I could probably fly a plane, because it was a 29-foot long, 13-foot tall bus.
Had you driven a bus like that before?
No, I had not ever done that before. I had Popeye arms by the time I got him cross country. It was like,
Did you do 8 and 4, or did you do
8 and 4?
You did?
Yeah. 8
Now
and
wait a
4.
minute. So you had to learn how to drive that and get a special license for that, I assume?
No.
What do you mean you don't have to have a special license
Apparently
to
not.
drive? You'd have to know how to turn a certain way. That's a bigger thing than a car. Wow. All right.
I'm good with cars. I just recently had a crazy flat tire that just happened. My back right tire exploded, like obliterated. I've never seen anything like it before in my life. And I ended up making it a whole Insta story thing, because I normally am so bad about that, but I didn't mess up my nail, which I was so proud of myself. And I made a whole video, because I figured people might need to know how to do that.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
You've got so much going on. Fashion Week, you have a fashion line,
Yep.
it's sustainable clothing, and
Yep.
you won an award for sustainability, right?
Yes, with CFDA Sustainability Award. This is my partner, Brima Uria. This is our recent show that we just did. Last year, because of the pandemic, we ended up showing our collection by having, we're based in Ghana, so we had all our seamstresses and tailors front row in our factory being able to see everything, and that's how we shared it. And then this year, it was on 9/11 that we showed. So we ended up having a Farsi singer and a piece that was done from sounds that were picked up right after 9/11 20 years ago. And my friend Sarah Jones did a poem and spoken word piece. We had dancers. Like, we always make it a real celebration
Beautiful.
of culture and heritage and sustainability and ethical fashion.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
And let's talk about, we have a little bit of time before we go to break, because I want to talk about Dope Sick, but your new movie that you are producing, This Is Not a War Story?
Yes.
Okay, you want to tell everybody about that?
Yes, so This Is Not a War Story is directed, performed, written by my friend Talia Lugassi. I met her when she was 15, I was 16 years old, and we always said we were going to work together. And this is our second film feature that we've done, and this is about moral injury and veterans who are coming back from war and committing suicide, and astronomical numbers. Veterans kill themselves, 17 veterans kill themselves every single day. And that number is actually quite low, because that doesn't count people who've been discharged dishonorably or people who don't sign up for their VA benefits. And it's due to going out and fighting wars that disenchant them. We're occupying lands, they're killing people, they're being told they have PTSD, and it's like, it's not a disorder to have post-traumatic stress from going over there and having a stressful situation happen that didn't need to happen.
Right.
So this film is talking about Frontline Arts as an organization. So Talia worked with all of these veterans to write it out. And they tear up their uniforms, they make them into paper, and they turn them into art to create community and to stop this horrible epidemic of people committing suicide.
This Is Not a War Story. That's fantastic. Dope Sick is on Hulu, and it is, I tell everybody about it, because not only is it beautifully done, it's hard to watch, but it's important to watch because it's a story that needs to be told. People need to know about how this opioid crisis started, and it's affected your family.
Yeah, I have a family member, a cousin who's no longer with us. He got a prescription of OxyContin, and it just took him down the heroin route, got divorced, didn't get to properly raise his kids. Like, we shot this in Richmond, Virginia, during the pandemic, before the vaccines and everything were out. Everyone was so passionate about making it happen because everyone had a personal story.
Yeah, I think everybody does know somebody, or if it's twice removed, we hear about, somebody being affected. So, so Giuliani's involvement in this, which is really interesting, because your character goes thinking, I'm going to be able to get to somebody and talk to somebody, and
he's working for Purdue Pharma. I mean, the chess moves that this company and the Sackler family have made during this whole time, it was so smart. I mean, it was right after 9/11, everyone thought that he might be president or something like that, or just connected, and people were just looking out for their jobs oftentimes. And what I love so much about Dope Sick is that it highlights so many of the heroes who could not be bought, who were not just looking out for their own skin, who dedicated themselves to making a difference and an impact. When you watch this film and see how many years this has been going on, and it still is. I mean, the Sackler Act is sitting in Congress right now, and they're hoping to be able to pass it so that the Sacklers can actually be held liable personally because they're hiding behind bankruptcy from Purdue. They're actually going to be richer after it all.
It's crazy. It's a crazy story, and I can't believe I didn't know that part of it. That's amazing.